Hey all, so here we are again in beautiful Virginia. Hey, Robert, what's the name of this lake?
We're in Stratford Harbor.
Stratford Harbor.
I think it's Lake Independence, I believe.
Okay, so we're talking about plot, step 2 in the algorithm, and it's been a tricky subject. You look for definition of plot, and it's really loosely defined, and no one really has. It's a long, lengthy definition. I feel inclined to make up my own. And so I would say, and I think I'm going to do that. So for me, the plot is the summation of all 3 acts coming together, of all this. Let me start that again.
See, he's already struggling. You might hear someone say it's what your story is about. It's what happens in your story. It's the culmination of events in the 3rd act that define your story or explain your story.
Boom, hold on, back up. It's a culmination of events that take place in the 3rd act that define the story. Bang! That's the plot. The culmination of events that take place in the 3rd act.
So when you say define, you're pretty much saying define is you're giving it a definition what your story is about.
Correct, but we see in the culmination of events, it's what happened in the 1st act, the 2nd act, and
You're
really
tying
climaxed, came together in the peaked, arced, if you will, in the 3rd act that defined the story. And oh, by the way, key point, centered around your protagonist. The plot is not about your antagonist. It's about all characters, quite frankly, but primarily your protagonist. It's always whose story is this, and then what's the story plot. But it's definitely all centered around your protagonist. It's not centered around your overall characters. It's not centered around your antagonist. It's not their story. It's your antagonist's story. Right? The others are part of the story. That's where the word culmination comes to point at. Robert, we talked about earlier, if you saw the other video. It's kind of like cooking a stew, right? It's not the carrots and the potatoes and the onions and the beef.
Are we back to the stew?
Kind of, yeah.
When someone says, "Oh, well, what's the log line? What's your movie about?" in one sentence, and you're saying things like definition, culmination.
It's not carrots and potatoes.
It's so basically, what is your movie about? When the movie's over, you've gone. Basically, you've also. I don't care if you're sitting in a chair watching somebody for 60 minutes. It's got to have a purpose. And most movies have a beginning, middle, and an end.
Right.
And a lot of them can be called a journey. Whoever's journey you're on. It doesn't have to be a travel movie.
But what's it about?
Yeah, what's your
What's
movie
it about?
Oh, it's
Right.
about 2 couples who live in the same house and how they all interact over the course of a year.
Yeah.
That's what your movie's about.
That-
So is that
that-
the plot?
In simple terms, if we're talking about stew, it would be beef stew.
You should have been a chef. I think you should have been a chef.
So listen, I'm sorry for the confusion about the definition of plot, but if you look it up, it's really not a simple definition. It seems that nobody really has an answer on it. So I'm going to define it the way that I see fit and I think best. And if you don't agree, I apologize. I'm not trying to bastardize the word plot.
Don't apologize. Just tell us what you think plot is in one sentence.
Without a doubt, it's the culmination of events that take place in the 3rd act that define the story, centered around your protagonist.
So when you say it like that, you say the culmination of events that take place in the 3rd act. So what about the 1st and 2nd act? You mean the culmination of all 3 acts?
Of course.
Okay, but you didn't say that. You said it's the culmination of events that take place in the 3rd act. So you're ignoring this 1st and 2nd act.
I made the fatal mistake of assuming you understood.
No. And you also said, without a doubt, bar none, this is it. And you stumbled out of the gate.
Oh.
It's that whole plot. It's that whole plot thing. And listen,
And if we were talking about genre right now, this would be a comedy about 2 bumblers that really don't know what they're talking about.
What is your story about? What is the plot? And you tell someone it's about how a maid unknowingly becomes a detective who solves a crime. Is that the plot? Could that be a plot of a story?
Yes.
Just a
Yes.
housemaid.
It could be.
Who's never, maybe she reads mystery novels and she finds a clue and she solves a murder mystery. Is that a plot? What do you call? What do you call that?
It could be.
Well, what is that then?
It is the plot.
Is that the log line? It's what your story's about.
It could be the plot. It could be there are many that would say there are only 7 real plots, 7 real stories. So some would say man against man, men against woman, man against society, man against God. That could be the plot, right? And it is in most cases. But if you look for definition, some of the definitions sound like genre. Like a comedy is not a plot, right? A western, these are genres, right? But if you look for definition on plot, you may find that as part of the definition, and it really isn't. That's genre. That's not plot. So yeah, plot for me, the culmination of events that take place in the third act. Now, Robert said something earlier. You can reveal the plot in the first act. That's which is fine. But to understand how we got there, it's going to be revealed in the third act. You can show me that because you're gonna end up where you began.
So it's going to culminate in the third act.
Correct.
Okay.
The plot is always solidified and exposed or revealed, if you will. The plot is always revealed in the third act. You can reveal it in the third act, but your audience won't understand it till the third act.
Let's look at those clouds up there.
Yeah, they're
Can you
magnificent.
get some of them?
Yeah, they're magnificent.
Remember the movie called Medicine Man with the late Sean Connery?
Unfortunately,
Did you ever see that?
Unfortunately, I didn't.
I had a friend who used to do a great impression of him, and he said, I found the cure for cancer, and I've lost it.
Oh.
And so could a plot be a man finds a cure for cancer? He's in the rainforest. He finds like a flower or something the petals or something. It could be ground up and mashed up, and it's
Just
somehow.
say what you said earlier.
Yeah, but I'm saying he finds a cure for cancer and loses it.
It's perfect.
Right, and so is that
That's
a plot?
the plot.
Is that the plot?
That's the plot.
Okay.
Perfect. Robert, say it again.
So that a man finds a cure for cancer and loses it.
Done.
But he tries to find it again. So obviously, so.
But for audience sake and for
Right.
the writer, for us as writers, right? So when you're in the first act, right? You're gonna. When does he find the cure for cancer? And he lose it? Does he find it in the first act? Does he find it in the second? Obviously, it's in the third act.
Well, it could
right?
be anywhere. It could find it in the second act and then spend the third act trying to find it again.
Correct.
So
Correct. But it
doesn't have to be in the third act.
No, but it culminates.
Well, your movie culminates in the third act.
The story culminates, and that defined is your plot.
Okay, so that would be correct in saying, and what's the difference in log line and plot? Are they the same thing? Because if I say a man finds a cure for cancer and loses it,
they're very close.
That would be a log line.
They're very close. Exactly.
Well, they're the same basically.
They're close.
Now you can maybe elaborate more when you're talking about the plot. In a log line, they just want one sentence.
There's no doubt they're kindred.
Okay.
No doubt they're kindred.
Yeah, but are they like a bastard child and the true blood child? Or are they twins? Or what are they? Are there a stepchild and a stepson and his sister? Or I mean, they seem very similar.
Log lines,
Maybe
they
not
are.
maybe not identical twins, but maybe twins.
Log line is for pitching a story. Plot is for, and that's why they're kindred, because.
So maybe it's called something different when you're beginning to construct your story or outline it. Maybe they're called something different. Maybe the plot becomes the log line when you're pitching, or you're just giving somebody a quick one-line thing about what it's about.
They're kindred, but with a log line, you shouldn't exceed 3 sentences, preferably if it's told in 1 or 2 sentences, and that's really tricky.
Probably should be one.
Ideally one, and that's very tricky. But those rules don't apply to the plot. If we can talk about the plot, there aren't any really rules around describing the plot. I mean, if you want to take 20 minutes to tell me about your plot, you've got that freedom. But if you want to tell me your log line, if you take more than 3 sentences, I'm going to lose respect for you.
Well,
Sorry.
Okay, I see this.
Sorry, brother.
Can you get a shot of that plane flying overhead?
I'd have to turn around.
Yeah, spin around. You can do it.
All right.
Whoa.
All right.
Can you see it up there?
I don't see it, but I can hear it.
It's up there above your head.
Well,
You probably got to go up a little bit more.
Well, that's all right. They can hear it.
Okay, I just saw that.
Sorry for the confusion.
I just saw the plane and I thought about D.B. Cooper. Okay, a man robs a bank, escapes on a plane, flies over the wilderness, drops the bag of money, and then has to go find it. Well, and of course, I think the plane crashed, and then they end up trying to find D.B. Cooper. I think that's how that story. Or did they ever find him? Is he gone? Did he plan the crash? Who knows?
So what's that story about? That's great.
Exactly.
What's that story about?
So a man robs a bank, escapes in a plane, ditches the money, throws the money out of the plane, and then has to go find it. Is that a storyline or is that a plot? Do you have to get into
that's your plot. That's your plot. There's no doubt that's your plot.
Well, do you have to get into why he stole the money?
No, that's different. That's your plot.
Well, suppose he stole the money to pay for a sex change operation. Does that
Different plot.
Does that change the plot?
Yes.
Okay, so a man robs a bank to pay for a sex change operation, and then goes on the run, tries to find the money. The cops are pursuing him. We don't know what's going to happen in the third act. Does he get away? Does he get the sex change?
Yeah, something to that effect. I'm going to hold on. Battery's running low. We'll come right back. No, plot defining a problem. Plot defines a problem. If you've got no problem, you've got no story. Conflict
is better. You gotta
every
have
story,
you gotta have conflict,
and every so the plot,
unless it's some G-rated
the
thing.
plot defines the conflict. That's exactly, here it is. I've got, here we go, guys. Ready?
Or does no? I think the conflict defines the plot.
Either same thing.
Not really. Once you define the conflict,
defines
then you got your plot.
Dude, we just decided. We just found it. Here we go.
Hold on a second. Hold on one second.
The conflict
Hold on,
defines
it's
it.
Adam. Hey, Adam. Not yet. Not yet. I'm sorry. I got down here and we got amazed by the splendor of the place and he started recording.